Okay, there we go. Now I'm connected. Now I can get it. Yeah. It's that code. Trust that. Test working. Testing. Susie, I know you're still working on. Minutes, but I'm gonna need you to do the timestamps for the 10-12 meeting. So that I can send that to the neighbors, because we're gonna have that future agenda item, and I want them to be able to watch that if they're interested. Oh, So, okay, okay. I'll do those. What goes next? And then I think we can get them May 25th one on the next, for the next meeting.
Okay.
We have. I have a list of buttons. We still have to work on the April 18th one too.
Yeah. It's next on my list.
And then I did July's.
Yeah.
One of August, one of September.
Yeah.
But there's about 3 months.
Yeah.
It's normally like that in the summertime. It's just crazy.
Right.
And then we just play catch up. We're caught up usually by the spring, and then we're back into the busy season. I was thinking this would be easier, but it actually takes a little bit more time.
Yeah. At least when I don't have to be in there, then I can get all this started and I have to worry about make sure it all works. Outside my computer.
Yeah, that wasn't good that time.
Well, now, since we're not doing any electronic coming in, we can't have that anymore, so we're gonna be in for them, we're not.
Oh yeah, sure. We were in Santa Rosa last night. It was so good. But man, it took forever to drive out there.
Yeah,
It was taking us all these back roads, and like, where are we going? And I go, I think it's bypassing the freeway because the freeway is probably totally backed up. And then it brought us.
Where were you?
At the Luther Burbank Center.
Oh, you're out in Santa Rosa, okay, yeah.
Out in Santa Rosa.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a nice place. And then we booked Dave Cause for his Christmas show.
Okay.
And it happens to be Phil's last day of school.
Oh, nice.
And I said, did you want to, oh yeah, Jonathan Butler. Oh, right, Dave Cause.
yeah, let's go. And I go, okay, I'll just go to the box office, because the show didn't start for another 30 minutes, we're just sitting in our
Yeah.
seats. So I'll go to the box office because I don't have to pay all the service fees.
Right.
So I went to the box office and I just
Oh, nice.
bought the tickets, and then he realized, oh, wait, we have our Christmas party the last day after school.
Oh.
They rent, what's that golf course that's right over there by Chicago?
Like Devil Creek or something like that.
And they have that, sports bar there.
Mhm.
They have a couple of rooms that they rent out.
Yeah.
And so they usually, every year they rent out the space for their Christmas party. He's like, oh, I forgot the Christmas party. Well, it's too late, I got the tickets. And I go, do you really need to go? He goes, no, not really. He usually doesn't want to go anyway,
Right.
so I'm
There you
like,
go.
now you have a reason not to go.
Yeah. Like
Yeah,
that.
that's all right, we'll go to the show.
I have reason not to go, yeah.
Yeah, it just takes up. We were at Sonoma State, I forget the hall they have there. It's really.
Oh,
nice.
yeah,
It's so
yeah,
pretty.
that center, yeah.
And it's a little bit less of a drive, like
Yeah,
20
cause it's
minutes.
not, yeah, cause the Blue River Center's in North Santa Rosa. And that's in Roanoke Park, so it's,
Yeah,
you know,
it's,
on the edge of South Santa Rosa, so yeah,
you
it's
could
definitely,
take the back road
it's
and.
definitely an additional like 20 minutes.
Mhm, or more.
More, depending on what traffic's like.
Yeah, he's like, we didn't drive this far last, I go, yeah, because it was. You
Yeah.
know, in
Mhm.
Sonoma State, and it's not
Right,
as
yeah.
far as Santa Rosa, and you have to hop on Highway 101. We weren't on 101 for that one, but still it was like bumper to bumper.
Yeah.
Like, and then this lady was there in the lobby. And we're getting a drink, and she's just
Right.
talking to her friends, and
Yeah,
I guess she met her friends there, and one lived in Pleasant Hill.
right,
She goes, oh my gosh, I didn't leave until, what did she say? Oh, I didn't get here until 5:30, but I left it. And I'm like, yeah, I know, we left, you know, around that area. I didn't say anything, but then her girlfriend said, well, I left it too,
right,
and I thought I'd be here at 5:30, but she just
Right.
got there and it was like almost 7 o'clock. And I was like, oh my God, I was thinking to myself, where'd she come from? She goes, yeah, and then she's talking to them somewhere, coming from Monterey, that's a long drive. I'm like, oh yeah, Monterey, because she's hitting all the South Bay traffic.
right,
And
Yeah.
South Bay traffic starts like at 2. She should have just left at noon or something. you
right,
know?
yeah,
But yeah, because she had to hit South Bay, and then she probably hit the Bay Area, and then 101 traffic.
Right.
It's like, oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't think I would have done that. She was staying with her girlfriends though.
yeah,
She's like, oh, I'll go back on Saturday. But at least you're gonna have to drive all the way back down to Monterey.
yeah, which is also good,
I'm going to Monterey next weekend.
right?
Yeah, I haven't been down there in so long, and Phil was gonna go, and then he's like, oh no, I gotta do report cards. And I'm like, okay, I'm still going.
Right.
There's a band called Postmodern Jukebox. My cousin went to UCSB,
Right.
he went to UCSB, but that's where she heard him. And they're like, they take, you know, hit songs, current songs, even
Yeah.
older songs, and they
Yeah.
just do a theatrical twist on it.
Mm-hmm.
And like more vintage, like 1920s, a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've heard of them. They're really good.
Oh,
Yeah. So
What's
they're
her
gonna
name?
be in Monterey. They're gonna be in San Francisco.
what's her name?
They're called Postmodern Jukebox.
Never heard.
Yeah, she got me on liking them. She's like, oh, you gotta listen to it. Here, listen. I'm like, oh wow, she's got a beautiful voice.
Oh.
But they're gonna play on Saturday next weekend in San Francisco. So I was gonna ask my cousin to come up, but then I said, well, what other places are they playing? They're playing in Monterey. So I said, oh, hey, why don't I come down to Monterey and you want to go see him? She goes, oh yeah. She goes, definitely.
What you want to see?
Postmodern Jukebox. They're like more theatrical. They take like hit songs and they switch it to like the 1920s era, or they just take a twist on the song and they're really good. Cause they play the part and their voices are the different singers they have on in their band are really good. And then they have, you know, it's a whole band,
Yeah,
so
where
there's
they
just
playing that down here?
Golden State Theater. When I was growing up, it was the movie theater. They had 2 theaters. And Golden State was on one side of the street, and when you cross the street on Alvarado, you don't come.
Hi,
It's the
are you
other.
Eric?
I am.
Hi, Eric, I'm Michelle.
I wasn't sure where the building
There you found us, you found us, nice to meet you, I'm the general manager.
was.
Michelle Lacy, this is Lance Furtado, Susie, this is Lance Furtado, this is my building and facility maintenance superintendent. See, the board's still in closed session, so we're. Yeah, right here.
Right down.
Yeah, she wants to go see the Green Day.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
and
I saw
Smashing
that.
Pumpkins.
oh, and Smashing Pumpkins, huh? That's my brother's favorite, he loves Smashing.
We saw them,
Did you?
yeah, we went this last year. Took my daughter, it was her first concert, she loved it.
Oh, my brother's a big Smashing Pumpkins
Yeah.
fan,
Yeah, I could too.
he goes to, whenever they're around, he usually goes.
Yeah, they were $33 a ticket.
Oh, wow,
It was awesome.
that's awesome.
Yeah, that was at the Chase Center.
Did you say $33?
Yeah.
How far up was
That's like a
this?
no brainer. This is second level,
That's
like
not
right
bad.
up front though.
That's not
It was-
bad.
Yeah, it was a good concert. I left there though and I was like, holy shit, that was loud.
You need to wear some earphones.
Seriously, yeah, like it affected me the
Yeah.
day after. I was like, wow.
Like
Yeah.
things are muffled.
Yeah, like man, I gotta bring something.
That's probably why my hearing's going bad, and I'm not that old, but I'm getting
Just bring
old.
some little earplugs,
Yeah.
you know, the ones you use for like, you know.
I went to Outside Lands for the first time last year. I wanted to go see Green Day.
Yeah,
They were good. I mean, it was packed, it was so crowded.
yeah, this place is really. A lot of open seats. Was kind of surprised for price. Played with James Addiction,
Oh,
the
yeah,
opening group.
it's an old band too.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're playing that era, the demographic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That liked them when they were in high school.
exactly. I missed Pearl Jam last year.
Yeah.
We were talking about going and
That would have been a great concert.
I know, yeah,
I got
kicking
tickets,
myself.
I got tickets to go see U2 and Sphere.
Oh,
I'm
nice.
super excited about it.
When is
Yeah.
It's a lot more than $33.
Yeah.
And when they extended the residency, and so I'm going the end of January, so
Oh, that
that's
was
it. I
awesome.
got one right from Ticketmaster and stuff.
Yeah,
Super excited.
We took a tour of that one day before it had opened.
Yeah.
Up at one of the security conferences up there.
Uh-huh.
It's an amazing place. If you get an opportunity, I know you already are going to. But
Yeah.
It's
yeah, it looks
definitely
pretty cool.
worth.
Yeah, it looks super cool and it just like oh, they're selling more tickets. Let me just see if I can get on. And I was on with something at work and I just opened it and I'm waiting. And then I was on like section 100. It's super nice and
nice.
easy. So
That's gonna be fun.
I'm super excited. about
Yeah,
that.
that's gonna be
It's
good.
really nice. So like, I can go to Sphere and watch the Earth movie, or I can go see U2.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And
neat.
I love U2 from high school and I have never seen them live, so I'm super excited.
we did it.
I know they're not quite the same live now as they were when they were younger, but I still think they rock. I love them.
Yeah,
Yeah, they did that free concert at Justin Herman Plaza in San Francisco State at the time. And a friend of ours, Joy, she worked with a radio station. And she called and said, you've got to go down to see U2. And I said, yeah, I got tickets to see them this weekend. No.
Right now, right now.
Right now, you gotta take Bart, go downtown to Justin Herman Plaza. What? She goes, I just heard, because the radio stations get the word
yeah,
kind of first, and then they announce it, and so she was calling it. So I ran and got a friend who was at the soccer field, and my car was parking lot right by the soccer field, so I was yelling down at him, he didn't have a car at the time, I'm like, wow, let's go, you too, yeah, this weekend, and I'm like, no, now.
Yeah.
He's like, what?
the car. Yeah, I just heard All-Star games coming to Chase
Okay.
next year,
Okay.
25.
Oh, yeah.
I want to go to that
Oh,
too.
yeah.
We'll see.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It probably won't be cheap
I
either.
went to the,
Depeche Mode's, I think this weekend.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, my husband was looking at that one.
I went to
Another
the,
$600.
That was my third concert in
Was it
high
really?
school, yeah. They were playing out in Oakland, it's not there anymore, can't remember. it's called. Oh, recently, I think they tore it down and they found the body.
I guess it's like.
Oh, yeah, help yourself, they're from my tree. At Asian pears.
Man.
You like some Asian pears, help yourself.
Are they pears?
Yeah, they're Asian pears from our tree.
They're both pear shaped and apple shaped.
Forgot to remind her. Well, I looked at the exhibit, so.
Yeah.
Think so. I'm gonna be there.
What's that?
I feel like it's thing. I figure nobody
Well,
will.
that's a good reason.
You can have- Yes, you can take the
You know,
chance.
that's what my kids would say
Yeah, I
too.
took it. Yeah. My fingers got on it.
Oh, that candy, 'cause I can-
For the rest of your life. I have a suspicion that sometime at the end of the night, some kid dumped the rest of the box into their bag.
That's my guess too.
I'm
Like,
like, 500
did
pieces
you
in
look,
there.
did you look at the,
I have to look at the camera, yeah.
next door had all the camera footage of kids doing that, so.
What, emptying the box?
And I think that.
My daughter actually put candy back into ones that were empty.
Oh, really? Yeah, go back around.
I know, yeah, I was surprised. Wow, friend of the love.
I apologize, I'll need a minute here to get this set up. So you have a paper copy of the agenda to get started? Is it yours? I don't.
Oh, I think I put one in front of you, Sandy.
Oh,
Sandy, I put one in front of you.
Oh,
She put one there. It's okay, no problem.
Thank you. All right,
Sure.
no, my hand is not the gavel. It's called to order the meeting of the Pleasantville Recreation Board, Recreation Park District Board of Directors for Thursday, November 2nd. Sandy, would you lead us in the
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let the record show that all directors are present this evening, and also our board did meet in closed session to discuss further negotiations with the general manager, and there were no decisions made at that particular meeting to report out. Item number 3 is public comment. We are not taking public comment in any electronic forms, but did we receive any? I'm sorry, members of the public present this evening wish to address the board?
Not under.
Subject not on our agenda.
Nope.
No.
Okay, any members of the public?
Nope.
Okay, we'll close public comment and move to item 4, reports and presentations. Michelle, take it away while I work this.
Yes, so I have the written reports in your packet, just a couple of highlights. One that the Ruttersmith Park restroom project was approved by the city.
Nice.
Hallelujah. So there's a 10-day appeal period. So I'm working with the landscape designer to finalize the plans so that we can put them out to bid and then get a building permit. So that is very exciting. So super excited about that.
Did we decrease the width of the
Yes.
the hardy boards?
Yeah, we did.
Thank you.
And so that project will be moving forward, so it'll be on a future agenda for you to approve going out to bid. So excited about that. The Haunted Trail, which isn't on here, was last Friday, and it was wildly successful. It was fantastic. Lots of staff and community participation. I want to thank Director Worst for his participation with the Gregory Gardens community crew. A lot of our programs, including Kid Stop, they had a very nice booth. And Anna and her family did it up with the Adams family, and that was, and one of Natalie, who works in our front office, was super spooky, and I had nightmares about her. You would not think she would be Wednesday, but she was perfect. And so anyways, it was great, and I want to just thank the staff for all their hard work on that. They did a great job. We even did not run out of candy. We had lots of extra candy this year, so we were not a ton of extra candy, but enough that we didn't run out. So that was great. Then just a reminder, I don't know if you had seen, we didn't get a formal invitation, but I did see that the Chamber Mixer is being hosted by Community Foundation on November 9th at Wise Grill. Typically, we would have a board meeting that day, but we do not have a board meeting next week, so so if you can attend, that would be great. I'm asking staff to attend, and I will be there as well. And with that, I'll take any questions.
There's a dance troupe at the Haunted Trail. Were they there specifically to add some like music and things for the
Yeah,
event?
they definitely did to add some music, and they AJ is his name, I believe. He actually teaches for us as well. So so he teaches, and so he added it, and the staff already decided that they put him kind of on the edge. Next year he'll be in the middle of the grass to get everyone very excited. And so they did a little dance party and that sort of thing in that area. So that was super fun. So okay.
Any other comments or questions from Michelle on her report?
Well, I just like how the space was utilized this year by going around the park, you know, it was more open and I think it avoided some of the congestion that we'd experienced last year with the line. So, you know, it made it so that people could kind of just circulate around a little bit more freely and yeah, I didn't even have a chance to really go around to everything, but just saw a lot of, you know, positive faces and feedback from the event.
Right.
Yeah.
Quick.
I thought it was actually well done as well too. We got the card of the AJ, so might use him for something else. He was great. And I think what really defined it for me and was part of my feedback from last year is that I think every kid left there with candy in its mouth, and that really is the marker of success. Actually, I think most kids went around multiple times. My daughter went on twice, and then she got tired of getting candy, so she just take the ball, that soccer ball, for like a half hour. And so that to me says that it's very successful. I like the format of going around the entire park. It opens up opportunities to fill it up with even more vendors, right? And that would be awesome if they had a ton of it. But the ones that were there were high energy, which was really great fun. So my daughter says it was not fun, it was FUN fun. So that's fair enough. So,
Great compliment.
Yeah.
Great compliments. I love the fact that you could, you know, if you ran into a log jam, you just walk around a log jam and hey, maybe you
go to
don't
the next
use a
one.
can,
Come back on the second
you
time.
just keep on walking and nobody cared. It was very, the circulation was, I thought, really well done. Sandy.
I was at the booth, the Rec and Park booth, right as people came in from the parking lot. And there was a line that was starting, this was about 10 to 6. And a couple of people, they said, well, should we go tell them you don't have to stand in line? So we did that and tried to get them. We said, you can go at any point, but you don't have to be here. But most of them wanted to get, you know, go through that booth. Which was, it went fine. We had, for about an hour, it was, you know, it was steady, and then there'd be a bunch of people, and then it'd be steady, not too many, and then a bunch of people. So it was, but it worked out perfectly, having where they could enter and go around at any point in time. I also went into the senior center to go to the inclusive dance. And walked in, and most of I think all the participants there were in costume. A lot of them, I think, had been to the Haunted Trail and then walked over, but it was crowded. They were all DJ. I looked over and I saw a former neighbor of ours who I kept in touch with his mom, but I haven't seen Billy in, oh gosh, 15 years maybe. And he knew who I was. I had my badge on, so he said, you used to live next door to me. And so we had a little discussion, and Alan took a photo of him with me and I sent it to his mom. But it was just that everybody there was having a great time. So the staff in the senior center and helping with that program, just also, that was kind of another part of it, that people were having a good time. And I think it just all worked out really well.
Good, I'm glad you had a chance to go there and report. Any other comments or questions for Michelle? Okay, we'll close 4.1 and move to 4.2, which is the room report from Secretary Tran, Director Worse regarding the SDLA. It's the Special District Leadership Academy held by the California Special Districts Association. And you attended the first year, and so this is your opportunity. Should we take 5-10 minutes to maybe go through the highlights of what you experienced? It was 3 days. If you need a little more time, that's fine too.
I have a presentation.
Oh, you do?
Oh, my goodness.
But it's not as fancy as the last one. This is more just to keep my thoughts in order, so I won't go off the rails, because you said 3 to 5 minutes, so I thought 3 minutes. So if you're okay, I don't mind going first.
Yeah.
Is that all right with you?
Then two of you, yeah.
Okay. Well, fair enough.
The floor.
Okay, thank you so much. So we did do the first year conference, like I said, and there were 5 components of it. I thought it was really well structured, because for any new board member, this is really the sort of the basis, and it was great. And if we ever get turnover to the board, I recommending to do an early kite. Derek did it in the beginning. I'm doing this sort of later on in this first term, and I wish I had a lot of this information ahead of time, so it was great. So
Right.
5 components: governance, board and staff roles, relationships, district's mission, communication outreach, and district finances. Covered the 3 days, and it just threw a whole bunch of information at you. So trying to sum it up in 3 minutes is impossible. I did still take a bunch of extra copy. I guess CSDA have these sort of booklets. Yeah. So they had some extra. I forgot to bring them. I'll bring on next time. And I don't know if you wanted to keep them, Michelle, or not, just to have. But I got a few extra.
Like these guys.
Yeah. That and those ones. They were kind of nice. I don't know if you. I got a few extra copies if you ever wanted to keep some around and give them out to new board members. So yeah, so I'll pick out maybe just a few of my top lessons that I learned that I think we can brief back to the board. To be the next slide. So these are my 5 top. So the first thing that I thought was really well said, and said over and over again, that unity doesn't mean uniformity. So we don't have to necessarily reach consensus, and that's okay. And this is the public sphere. We should just talk it through, debate about it, and if it's reach consensus, that's great, but we don't have to. But the one thing that they did mention over and over again is that whatever the vote is, that we respect the majority. I mean, that we speak as one voice. And I guess a lot of the comments that came from the audience was that many boards that are not functioning well don't necessarily respect that vote. And so it's almost taken personally, in a sense that if you voted the opposite way or a different way, that it's some sort of personal slight against you, and it's not. It's mainly everybody takes all the information and they vote what they feel is the right way to do it. But at the end of the day, you respect that majority. So that's still unity, but we don't have to necessarily be uniform in our voice. The next thing I learned, or want to bring back, is that we should review our mission statement or strategic plan regularly. I know that Derek talked about strategic plans, and maybe we should be more focused on a more regular, or at least reviewed on a more regular basis, and even our mission, because I think the mission on our agendas is different than the mission on our master plan is different. So there's several different missions. But one of the things that they did say is that, well, missions aren't static. We have new focus and board members, new things, and so we should revisit those. And I think it might be time to take a look again at what's our purpose. I mean, that's what the mission is. Purpose, the why are we doing what we're doing? And it's because of the next ones that I think is very important, and sort of in the context of our future bond is school too, defining who we are through communication and narratives and stories telling is really important. And that starts though with a well-defined mission. Because somebody walked up to me and said, "What's your mission in the district?" I go, "I don't know, it's pretty long on the agenda, right?" I couldn't spout it out, right? A mission should be one that you can say simply and that encapsulates what you do. I did sort of a mission exercise with some leaders that I've been working with today, and I kept saying, not more than a dozen words, please, because the missions become all statement and no mission, right? And so you don't really want that. So I think it might be time to reevaluate that, because number 3 is communicate or else, because if we can't define, or if we can't say what we are about, our purpose, we can't message that, somebody else is going to do it for us, right? In this day and age of social media and other stuff, that if we don't do that, then somebody else will do it for us. And that goes to the 4th one is if we're going to do the communication, make sure it's positive, it's persuasive, and there's a clear story behind it. People remember stories, they connect with stories, and then in turn, when they remember these things, they build rapport and then they build support for what we're doing. So I think that was the big takeaway, is that all just wraps together, and it's very important to have. Final thing was sort of the last day, which is physical activities. Which a lot of it was because he did the quiz and I like flunked it. Well, A, B, C, or D. I go, E.
All of the above.
I don't know. I said, Michelle, tell me what does it mean? So I flunked the quiz, but I did learn a lot. But the one thing I took away from it, and it's going back again to all, I think the underlying theme of the entire first year of conference card is that it goes back to the mission, right? So everything you have in your budget should match up with what you want to do in your mission. And one of the things that I think he says, that if you're doing budgets on every 2 year base, whatever year base, then do your strategic plan on a every 1 or 2 year base, because then you can just line them up and say, is our budget reflective of the strategic plan, which is basically an outgrowth of the mission, right? Because I always say, and I say this in every meeting, especially in our finance committee meetings, that budgets are a reflection of our values, right? We fund things that we think are important. And if we don't keep that up to date, strategic plans or mission statement, then we're not sure where we're funding or funding things that we think are important. And so those are the 5 things that I took back from the conference. There's a whole other I'm still reading that thick booklet to get through it, but I'm going to remember these 5 definitely. I think just those 5, nothing else. I think at least enhance what I've learned, and hopefully we can take some of this back to this board and maybe incorporate some of the things that they suggested on the conference.
Well, it sounds like it's living, and as we do
It's
with
living.
items on any
It's
subject,
evergreen.
it's
what-
absolutely principles to apply.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Those are my 5.
Excellent. Great.
Yeah, and I might just add on to what Kui had said. I had many of the same takeaways from the conference. In fact, I think it was immediately valuable for me, seeing as how I, just come on this year. And then, what I also had taken away is just to gauge where we are as a special district comparatively to a lot of others. We had the opportunity to engage with so many different types of special districts, and there's a lot of things we do very, very well. And, but there's still things, we can improve, but there's a lot of special districts that have troubles. I'm not afraid to report, that there's struggles that they have. But it's good that they can all come together with this type of forum to talk about those and discuss their challenges, because it gives us an idea of some things to avoid. But same thing, unity of purpose is really one of the key messages. If we have a good strategy, then we can all rally around that as something that we it's common to us to execute that mission. And I do think it's important for us to revisit our strategic plan on a periodic basis as it changes. It's not static. We talked about a lot of things in terms of measuring our performance against that strategic plan. How well are we doing that? I really like that session. And then I'm just kind of going through some of my notes, maybe a couple of things that Kui hadn't talked about. I wanted to say, let's see here. Some other notes. Oh, communications was one I felt like we are doing a phenomenal job on. There are so many special districts that are looking to avoid having any public engagement, but I think it's part of our core mission to make sure that the public is well informed. I think we could do more too in that regard, but I felt like there was interesting discussions about how they're struggling with the communications and get the word out about what they do. But I felt like that was one of our successes. And then there was a whole thing about the budgeting and reading the financial statements, and I felt like a couple areas that we could do better there in terms of looking at the reserves. That was one thing that I was like, we should be thinking and be disciplined about building up reserves for certain strategic priorities, and making sure that those are identified so that we can have that for the future needs, and setting our future boards and the district up for success. So that's one of the things I want to look at in terms of our strategic plan, is how do we help fund some reserves for our district, so.
Well, those are awesome reflections.
Yeah.
And I particularly appreciated your observations from meeting other board members of
Yeah.
special districts and, because we get used to the fact that it's just the five of us. And we think this is the way it always is, in ways it always will be. But it hasn't always been this way, and it may not always be this way. And so it's great to have that perspective, I think, that you get when you rub shoulders with others that are doing what you're doing. Very good. And I love the financial impact. I think we're going to talk a little bit also about some similar sorts of recommendations that we became exposed to, but very much along the same lines of constantly reviewing the mission, constantly reviewing the strategic plan, marrying our budget up with it, and communicating all of that. I think that is, in a nutshell, just awesome takeaways from the 3 days. Okay, Sandy, or anybody else have any comments on any of these observations or participation?
I'll just say that as you and I walked through the room that they had for the first year attendees was huge.
Ton of people.
And ours was probably a third of that size.
Oh, we had 45 people maybe.
Yeah, maybe at the top on the first day. But I think they had 170, is that what one of you guys said?
It took an hour to do
Yeah.
introductions.
Yeah.
And they went through every.
Oh, my goodness.
But and as they came out, and when we had breaks and lunch and this and that, people were just, you could see their brains were spinning.
Mhm.
Because we had some of the same speakers, and since we were in the second session, we had done that and knew what may or may not be going through. But it was really interesting to observe it from having done that a year ago.
Nice, okay. Well, let's take any public comment, either from audience members or online.
Nope.
Nope, okay, we'll close public comment, and there's nothing more. We'll move on to 4.3.
That's us.
Yes, I think we both wanted to pretty much cover our subjects here. You want to start?
Yeah,
Or just go back and forth?
just so you, yeah.
I thought dinner.
Just so you know, the second year is a lot thinner. And I actually pulled out my other one to see, what it was. Oh, okay. We had 2 days, you guys had 2.5. And we did have some of the same speakers that you had, and I could tell by some of
content,
the
yeah.
content that you had up there, where that came from. I'll just go through I'm gonna pick one from each thing, and then you can just go back and forth. The first one was establishing a board culture. That was the morning session. That was Brent Ives, yeah. And I guess one of the takeaways on that one, we heard him before. That was probably the third time I'd heard him. And he actually was a facilitator for us during COVID. Couple things. He said, what the public expects is representation of the whole. And I think there's more discussion you can have with that. So, well, sometimes the public expects with this little part, but then you have to think of representation of the whole. The other, establishing the board culture, one of the things that was recommended was that the board do a self-assessment.
Wow.
And the CSDA has a sample. I haven't looked that up yet, but I will.
I think it's in here too.
Yeah, and that they do recommend self-assessment for the board. And then some quote that he's used several times. It's, if you're proactive, you focus on preparing. If you're reactive, you end up focusing on repairing. So that's what I have for that one.
This was the first session of about 3, where, in going back over my notes, I heard our speakers refer to the difference between either discussion or dialogue and debate. And I'm still a bit unclear about what the difference is and why we should avoid debate and do more dialogue or discussion. But I think what they're really trying to say is how we communicate with each other and express our individual views. As Sandy has said, we represent the entire district, and we're elected to, bring our individuals, viewpoints to the center of the table. But how we express them, is important to creating the culture of a board that is collaborative and collegial and works well together, and respects each other, even if we don't agree with each other. And that if we say something that, that doesn't land quite right, that we recognize that and we say something, so we don't, have a problem that begins to fester. And we don't let divisions, kind of break apart what I think is really an extraordinary board right now. A lot of different talent, but that to me was sort of the gist of this and two other sessions that we had. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out into the mix. I'll move on to the second one, which was 2 hours, 2 interminable hours of discussing a new statute having to do with political contributions. I'll just summarize it by saying that if you're a candidate or plan to be a candidate, or anyone gives you more than $250 or more, write it down, say something, and make sure that if anything comes up before the board of directors that creates a conflict of interest, or that someone who's an interested party has given you money, say something and recuse yourself. It's disclosure and recusal. It now applies to all of us, whether we're candidates or whether we're sitting board members. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
2 hours.
SB 1439.
That's it.
2 hours, I know,
It was,
I've spent more than 2 hours. Days.
It was way too long,
Wait,
and it could have been a handout. It did not need to be a session for that. So that was unfortunate, because the next one was how to develop innovative and effective outreach for the unique needs of your community. And that was Martin Roush. And you guys had him too. And I think he's really good. But he has to he had an hour and 15 minutes. He's throwing stuff at you just because he doesn't have enough time. So I already did my evaluation and submitted it and said, get rid of this other thing and give Martin Roush
More time.
way more time.
Bobby, you want to vote on that?
Yeah. Could be a handout. So there was a lot of takeaways from what he was talking about. I'll do just a couple. Remember your board and staff, and board and staff are ambassadors to the public, and give them the tools that they need. We have to kind of keep that in mind. There's some of the things that you already mentioned, both of you, you won't be surprised, but I think Martin Roush's thing was, he kept telling us, tell a good story. You need to use a narrative storyline, you need to develop your story, and you need to develop your story so that anybody can tell the story in a succinct way, and that we all, in our own way, have the same story. We need to practice telling the story, and I think we're going to hear a lot of that, going forward. It's last year you got to do the story of
Little Red Riding Hood.
Yeah, yeah, you did.
I did better than this.
Yeah, you did.
That came up with that
Yours should have
one.
been, yours should have been taped. But I think his closing thoughts were the public wants a say in major decisions. You have to give them an opportunity to engage. You have to start early. You have to develop your message. You need to be consistent and persistent, and repeat and repeat and repeat, because they're not going to be listening. That's all I have on that.
Well, and I would just say, to me, it really resonated with us moving forward into the next year, as we're communicating huge amounts of information to our public, and that we should never take it for granted that they're listening to us, and that we need to find out where they are, and, as you say, tell the story of where we're headed and what we would like them in terms of benefit and minimizing risk. Get our story straight and communicate. The next session had to do with social media exclusively, but it really dovetailed well because so much of what we do is on social media. So, Sandy?
That was a nice surprise, the one on social media, because I saw it initially and I thought, who are these folks? But they really did a good job and it did dovetail. It was really good. It said obstacles and opportunities for special districts online. So it was a good overview of social media options. And one of the takeaways was all special districts can get a .gov domain. And that if you're looking for, if somebody's Googling Pleasant Hill Rec and Park District, if you have a .gov, it's gonna pop up. In a
It's
better
a priority.
way. Yeah, it's a priority.
In
It's free.
in terms of searches.
Yeah, it's free and they highly recommended that if you didn't
Mr.
already
Allen's
have one.
skeptical.
I know, but if you.
No, it's just the
don't-
process in order to get it approved by the state is not an easy one, so.
Oh, really?
They make it sound
They
like it's
didn't-
super
they
easy.
didn't,
Make it
yeah.
sound like-
They didn't.
Oh, we got it.
Yeah, okay,
If you
so
pay
we'll
us the consulting
check
fee,
that out.
we'll make it happen for
check
you.
that out.
Skeptic.
And I can't.
Go look
remember-
at it again.
Yeah, I'll have to look at the
No.
fine print on,
Yeah.
because they may have mentioned that it could take a while, but it was free. But anyway,
And you get denied, it's.
I know,
You guys are.
I think that's about it on that one that I had.
I think a big takeaway for me in terms of myself and staff is that we need to find out where people use, what social media medium they use the most. And that's done through polling and asking questions and stuff. They said that while Facebook has the lion's share of it, YouTube is actually the go-to place for information imparting. And I am reflecting on how effective John Matheson was with respect to the Harvest Festival. He did a little video online. How effective Patrick was before Tinkers and Thinkers by just doing a video and talking into the camera. I mean, we could do a lot of things, I think, with video to tell our story. That seems to me that could be very, very effective as we get more into our communication and education of the public. But we have to know where they are. And I don't know if we've ever polled that, but that would certainly be a strong recommendation from these particular presenters. That was pretty much it on that one. Oh, financial planning and reporting and strategies. This dovetails nicely, I think, with the financial management ones that you two were talking about. There are a couple things that stood out for me was the use of not only capital reserves for our CIP program, but also operating reserves, and that there is a clear understanding of a policy for what operating reserves we have. And I know, Michelle, you've been wanting to bring that back to the board or to the Budget and Finance Committee and rework that policy. I think that's very timely. They certainly underscored that. With respect to budgeting, there are some things that I've kind of struggled with over the years about information to be able to read the budget. And there were some, I thought, very concrete recommendations that they had. For example, that there would be a standalone schedule for assumptions, a standalone schedule for salaries, standalone schedule for, they said taxes and benefits, but I'll just call it benefits here. And a standalone schedule for target reserves. So, and I've got examples of those in the book. If Michelle, if you're interested in seeing what those are, if you think the Budget and Finance Committee would be interested in having that. But it kind of fills in like a snapshot way what the how to read the budget, and I really reacted very positively to those suggestions. They talked a little bit about debt financing, the certificates of participation, and bond measures, which we're all familiar with here. Investments, LAIF was discussed. Class was discussed also, but I guess I was a little skeptical since they were a sponsor of this particular event, that there wasn't a discussion of maybe the pros and cons of some of these investment vehicles. I would have liked to have seen that. And then we ran out of time and didn't have time for the Section 115 trust. How about you? What did you take away?
Oh, I'm just listening to all yours. One of the things was, and I think we know this, but I just had it, reserve should provide for infrastructure maintenance, that we have to make sure that happens. Because if not, you're setting yourself up for future not good things to happen. Capital reserves. You have to have the capital improvement and replacement plan, and then you have to be able to prioritize those mission critical projects and or equipment. Let's see, what was my last one, the investment policy, that it should be required, but not necessarily every year. And he had a little acronym, called it SLY: safety, protect public funds, liquidity, quick access, and yield. So that was my day 2 approaching the end.
We have a program on civility, which was sort of dovetailed with some of the things we've already talked about and how to promote that. But it wasn't just civility amongst the 5 of us, or civility amongst the 5 of us and staff, or vice versa, but also handling, what happens when the public isn't very civil to us. So there were some good pointers in that regard, which led then to board manager relationships. Talked quite extensively about contracts and evaluations, things that we're I undergoing right now. And then finally, leading challenging board meetings. Sandy, you'll have the gavel, I suspect, next year. So what were your takeaways on some of those?
Well, the civility one was, no surprises there, except it was a surprise that they didn't have any discussion and nobody brought up anything about the hate bombing. Yeah, which was fine. I really did not, since we had experienced it, and I actually was in the room with the city council when that happened. I didn't really want to get into a discussion about that. I think it would have given them more credence, I guess. But it was a good, and they actually have some online training coming up in early December. And this is via the Institute for Local Government, which I think is somehow attached to CSDA. The board manager relationship best practices, talked about, you have to make sure that you develop the criteria, you have to refine it among the board members and perform the evaluation, announce any actions, and then certainly discuss results and allow for feedback, and we've kind of been doing that. As far as the challenging board meetings, the one thing I wrote down is good governance should be the goal of every board meeting and the goal of every board. You may not get it all the time, but that still can be your goal. And that, how do you do that, and what things are part of that? It's the participation, it's the rule of law, it's being transparent, it's being responsive, it's being consensus oriented, which we've talked about. You brought that up. Inclusiveness, effective and efficient, and then in the end, we're accountable. So that was my takeaway on that one. Yes. So as you can see, we came out of this with a lot
of good.
as sometimes
Yes.
you come out. So it's just, but you can pull out these little nuggets, and hopefully we'll use them as we go forward.
And I'll close 4.2 by saying how much I enjoyed spending time with our 2 new board members and getting to know you personally. We didn't violate the Brown Act sort of things, but it was just a pleasure spending time with you both on that level, and it was extremely valuable for me in that regard. So thank you. And I had a great ride home on a T-Bird. Okay. So any public comment or written on this? Closed, and so we'll move on to the consent calendar. Consent calendar tonight consists of approving the bills to be paid and to adopt a resolution declaring certain equipment as surplus. Any questions, comments on either of those items? If none, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll move the consent now.
Second.
And second, thank you, Sandy and Bobby. All in favor?
Aye.
Susie for 5-0. And 6.1, authorize the general manager to enter into an agreement, security by design for security consulting services for the physical risk assessment and security master plan for the district parks in amount not to exceed $47,250, Michelle, can you lead us off, please?
Yes, I can. Thank you very much, Chairman Otto. I included a written staff report, which includes the RFP that we sent out, as well as the proposal that we received back from Security by Design. We went to the Land and Facilities Committee as part of the CIP, the annual CIP process. As this board knows, we've made a number of, we've attempted to make a number of improvements to try to address the graffiti and vandalism problem specifically that we were having at Pleasant Oaks Park. And, we've thrown a lot of things at it. We've tried security guards, we've tried a camera, we've tried staffing it, we've tried a lot of things. And so, we did have some success in reducing some of that. We had some active engagement with PD, and they have, and at the time they came out full force. We identified a number of juveniles who were engaged in these behaviors, and so that was good. It's kind of one of those things that ebbs and flows at times with graffiti and vandalism throughout our parks. And so we had come to this to the Land Facilities Committee to talk about yet again another option, right? So at that time, which I thought was a good idea, but I didn't know where to start. The committee directed me to look at looking at an overall comprehensive view of security of all of our outdoor parks, right? And not just adding more cameras or adding someone to monitor those cameras. And really looking at a holistic approach. And so this is the first time I've had to go find that type of service that wasn't specifically attached to a product, right? So, usually you kind of find a product and you find a vendor and then do that. So I was fortunate enough to do some, I love Google, do some Google research. And there was an International Association of Professional Security Consultants who knew that association existed. I did not, but they had a very comprehensive sample RFP that really gave me an idea of what needed to be included in a scope of work. And so, because I didn't even know where to start. And so, some of the takeaways of my research was, making sure that they were certified, that the security consultants weren't vendors, and they didn't have any stake in any particular product. And so I put out an RFP, and I actually got back 14 proposals. I was quite shocked at how many proposals I got back from all over the country. Through that process, we narrowed it down to a few that we at staff level interviewed, and we were lucky enough to come up with the Security by Design. We were very impressed when actually Lorna was the one who came in to interview with us, and we were able to talk through some of the issues we were having. And she's like, well, this is maybe something we do, maybe we'd look at this. And I was just very impressed by. We were very impressed just by their approach. Also that they're local, they're out of Pacheco, so that is also very nice. Who knew that they were down the street? So tonight, I'm recommending to the board to authorize me to enter into an agreement not to exceed $47,250 with Security by Design. I do have Eric here from Security by Design. He's on the team. And so if you have any specific questions for the consultant, Eric is here to answer those. Just to let the board know, we do have sufficient funds in the CIP project to do this. And it will include all of our outdoor spaces. And so it's not just going to include cameras, it's going to include fencing and lighting and looking at everything that goes into security as a whole. And so we were impressed with the assessments they're going to do in our parks, both at night and during the day. They really showed, unlike some other companies that we interviewed, they really showed that they were listening to us and not just going, well, we've tried this and this is what we would do for that. They really listened to the staff. It was myself, Tom, and Lance who sat in on the interviews, and they really listened to staff and heard what our issue was, and not just this is what we're going to do. And so I was impressed. So with that, I'll take any questions that the board has, and then like I said, Eric is here from Security by Design if you have any specific consulting questions.
Board, questions, Derek?
I just had one quick one, and I think I answered it, but it was part of the breakdown of the cost, and it indicates that there's a ROM for implementation of mitigation techniques, and I assume that's like rough order of magnitude.
Costs, yeah, so at the end of this, we'll have a rough order of magnitude of what the cost is on what they're recommending, so we can phase it
Okay,
and figure out how we want to do that, and so that's what that
good,
means.
all right, I was just curious.
Acronyms.
Oh, I did want to say, I did check references, and a colleague of mine is with the city of Pico Rivera. And she's the Park and Rec director there, and she was very pleased with the work they had done with them recently, so I was pleased with that.
Can you describe the work that was done in Pico Rivera?
They did similar,
Recollect any,
huh?
do you recollect any of the?
Recollect, they did a security risk of buildings as well as parks, and so their assessment included, cameras and locking systems and all of that, and so, but she also reiterated that they listened to staff, they talked to frontline staff, they listened to what the issues were, and came up with practical solutions. Pico Rivera is a little different community than ours, and they have a lot of the same issues we have, actually probably a little bit more in the vandalism and graffiti and that sort of thing. So she was pleased with that. So they haven't implemented anything at this point in time, but they got the plan done. So
All right, so it looks like about a 20-week proposal. Which would put us into, when would this start if this contract?
well, we would as soon as the board approves that, we would get through the contract process. And then we'd probably at least start initially at the beginning of December. As soon as we can, we'll get started.
Depends on it, I mean.
Depend on when we can do that and when staff's available. And we're gonna have to fight a little bit of maybe weather when we're doing some of the assessments, but yeah, we're gonna start immediately as soon as we can.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question is, because maybe the timing of it, you say that the situations that we've experienced sort of ebb and flow. And if there's assessments happening during the dead of winter, how much are the parks being utilized? So maybe to be cognizant of, how the assessment result might be, different if it were to be done during.
Yeah, except that at least at our biggest problem park, that
During
doesn't
school
change
season,
during
yeah.
school, as long as we don't do it during the summer. Or when school is out, then we kind of have the same issues, but we'll definitely look at that, and I think we can verbally give information as well, so, but our parks are, unless it's raining, our parks are pretty heavily utilized year round.
It's California.
Yeah.
And I did have a conversation when we talked to Lorna, 20 weeks is what they have, if we can, part of that is built in us returning things to them, so if we speed it along, then we can move it a little faster as well, so.
Really to be fair, our fees are built on time frame.
Yeah.
So it's all about meetings and whatnot.
Yeah.
So if we wanna stretch it and can, we're very flexible. And if it needs to be condensed and done all very quickly, we can do that too. It's really
We're gonna move it as-
direction of the board, and
Move it as quickly as we can, so.
Any other questions? Quick.
Given this is sort of a holistic approach with lots of different stakeholders, I was just curious, since we don't have our own police department, what is the interface with PHPD?
They're one of the stakeholders listed in the proposal, so yeah.
we would be talking.
And so I will work with Scott Vermillion to have a conversation with him and arrange that, so Scott and I have a good working relationship. He is also very interested in addressing these issues, so we'll definitely have them, they're a stakeholder for them to have a conversation with.
And another question, is there any need or possibility to involve the community or the public in their assessment or what they feel in terms of whether they feel safe or issues that they may have encountered as well? So this is just an assessment from what I read, just from personnel, but is there a need or an opportunity for public input or direct public input?
Well, there always is in our meetings. Are you talking about an outreach to let people know that we are contemplating this and affirmatively seeking input? Is that,
Yeah, so I mean, we,
are there some individuals that you think that would
Well,
contribute and help here?
I guess I started out with, this is supposed to be a holistic approach to security within the parks. It's sort of expanded from, we are looking at property issues, but we're talking about security in the park, which involves much more than just property, right? Involves people being able to access or feel safe within our system because they are utilized by a whole variety of people. And especially given that we just came out of the pandemic in which a number of, I think minorities didn't feel safe walking on trails, going to parks, and that continues sometimes. And the targets sort of vary from whatever the news story of the day is. But we're taking a holistic approach to just security and not just focusing on property. Then I'm just sort of wondering if that's going to be part of that and whether the public should see that, because I don't know, do our staff feel comfortable speaking on behalf of the public and what they feel is safe or not safe, or?
I mean, yeah, you can have this conversation. Can I answer that question?
I was just gonna ask you to put it in the form of a
Yeah.
question, but he did, so go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah, so I think the focus, it says security, but it's really the physical security of our property at this point in time is what we're focused on. And so, because we are spending a lot of money to replace the things that are getting broken or defaced. And so, I think that's what this proposal is focused on, and that was what I requested in the RFP, was, basically protecting what we have. I think, maybe a follow-up and or an additional input from the community staff can definitely look at doing that outside of this, but I think this really is physical security of our assets is what we're focused on.
Any other questions?
I was just, curious, with what you had said, maybe that's input that could be provided from the police, since they may have interfaced with some of those situations.
Then we're in question.
Oh, sorry,
Do you
yeah.
have a question?
No, I don't.
Okay. And
I'll
then
save it for
we'll
comment.
save for comment. Okay, we'll save it for discussion.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other questions of staff? Any public comment, any members of the public present or in writing? No, close public comment. And, okay, let's bring it for discussion. So there's been some discussion about a possible expansion of this, either immediately or whatever. But am I right in assuming that what you'd be interested in, Qui, is not only, let's take Pleasant Oaks Park and the vandalism, the physical security of it, but also perhaps talking with the parents of the younger children that stopped bringing their children there because they were afraid that there was going to be a problem.
Issue. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we're just accessing, so I guess my point is, we're just talking about, that's one thing, it was just graffiti or vandalism, but when you start saying, we'll take a holistic approach, then we should take a holistic approach, right? It's not just the physical, we need to protect our private, but it's just a public sentiment. It's like, is there other things that when our property is affected in some way that people are not able to use, access, or feel safe, is that a component of it? And so maybe the scope is not as clear to me that if we just focus on that's fine, but if we're going to talk about bigger picture view of it, then I'm really open to discussing that. And that's the board feels that we're just focusing and we just want to protect our property.
I think some of that could be potentially incorporated in the mitigation measures that come out as a result of this. I know that, when there's overall awareness that there's surveillance or cameras in use at the park, and it's advertised with signage, then it would, tend to, say, hey, you're going to be on camera or videotaped here. That might, be a message to the public. Hey, if there is an incident, you know, it's at least gonna be captured on video, but it still would be part of the result of some of the mitigation measures. We don't know what those are just yet, but they could have a dual benefit of protecting physical assets as well as just informing the public, you know, that, you know, we're taking measures to be safe in our parks.
I can also see that a holistic approach, compared with what we've been trying to do so far, which is sort of scattergun. You know, seat of the pants because we're not professionals at this. That holistic in that sense means, that we're looking at a park that is, being victimized and wondering, you know, what is it about its location, its proximity, its, orientation, its openness or non-openness, its shrubbery, its lighting, all of that holistically, looking at a site and saying, what are we doing right there and what are we doing wrong there that is leading to the damage to the facility? So when we talk about holistic, I think of it in terms of holistic, looking at far more resources than what we've been able to do so far in-house. So I don't disagree with you. I think what's before us though is more focused just on the facilities. There may be some consequential, you know, advantage to not only the communications that you're looking for, but also the benefits that you're looking for. There'd be personal security benefits perhaps.
Yeah,
as
and
well.
maybe that wasn't clear to me in this particular sort of scope, and if that's the focus, then that's the focus, and maybe we just need to sort of clarify that,
Mhm.
you know, we're talking about just the physical security of our assets versus sort of just the broader thought of just security at a parking or a park, you know, facility in general.
Another concern about getting too much into physical security is what you're promising the public is a safe space.
Mhm.
And we don't have any police department, we don't have any ability really to put in, you know, that, you know, to offer that kind of physical security. But collaterally, you know, we can make a place safer. I would think.
Okay.
See?
I look at this as some of what you've been wondering about as far as personnel or people, our public going to parks and to me, there will be some outgrowth. Once this review is completed, I would expect that we will, as you said, we will see some follow-up as a result of some of those things. And I think certainly our relationship with the PD will be helpful, especially with Michelle and Chief Vermillion. So I would expect to see that there will be a discussion as it occurs and we get more data about some of these things.
Bobby, do you have any comments or observations, the contract or the approach, the proposal, anything?
No, I mean, it's funny, having read this one, I was struck by Vice Chair Vincent's comments about the CSDA conference about being proactive, and I took this as, you know, spot on. I mean, we are, you know, looking forward and trying to, you know, resolve or, you know, avoid situations. So I applaud the staff of the Land and Facilities Committee for looking at this.
I think that was the intent of the Land and Facilities Committee.
Right, actually.
You know, looking in or asking staff to look into this. Exactly right. Any final discussion?
Oh, just
Derek?
a comment. I really appreciated the proposal, how it was structured, you know, very good examples that were used that were relevant. I like that there's a physical aspect of actually going out and doing an assessment, you know, day and night as built into the proposal. I like that you had done the research and found, you know, a company that's non-biased by trying to sell you their wares, you know, so all of those things I just wanted to say are above in this proposal.
I have one final question of you, Michelle. Will you be the go-to, or will Lance or Tom or? Do
So,
you have assigned anybody?
yeah, I have, Lance doesn't know this yet, but Lance is gonna be the project manager for this particular project.
Lance.
It's going to be Lance, so I will support him.
Fist bump you, Lance.
So Lance will be managing the project. Tom will be intimately involved since he's the one that has a lot of the experience over years. And so, yeah, so it'll be Lance and Tom, but Lance is gonna be the lead, so. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Does not come with a promotion.
You just got one.
Right. Okay, any final discussion before we call for motion? All right, the motion before us is to, hold on. Go back to it. To authorize the general manager to enter into an agreement with Security by Design for security consulting services for physical risk assessment and security master plan for Pleasant Hill Recreation Park District parks in an amount not to exceed $47,250.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Bobby. Any second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Derek. Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Susie, 5-0. Thank you. Eric, welcome. Okay.
Thank you.
Looking forward
Looking
very
forward
much
to
to
working with
this.
you.
Absolutely.
I've been doing business in this little area for 33 years, and this is only I've done stuff in Walnut Creek and I've done stuff in Martinez. But I've never done anything in this like immediate, right next to our office, so it's be good to have.
Hopefully this is beneficial all the way around. So we're really looking forward to the help that you can provide.
Thank you. I look forward to working with you.
So I guess this next goes to OSA to review the contract.
No, we'll use our professional services
Services,
contract,
okay.
yeah, so we'll use that, so I'll work with with them and get that rolling, so then Lance can get started.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you all. Moving to item number 7, verbal report from committee chairs and opportunity to set meeting dates. We have a land facilities.
We do not have a land and facilities committee at this point in time. This was on the agenda. We will need to, but probably after the holidays.
After the holiday, okay. After the holiday, Thanksgiving.
Probably after Thanksgiving. yes.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Any others? Let's see.
We just have that
We
city
have that
district
dinner, and
Yeah,
do we have an agenda for that?
we do not have the agenda yet. You and I need to have a conversation about what things we would like to be on the agenda, and
Have we
then,
heard from the city
Yeah,
about
no.
what they would like to chat about?
but we usually throw a few things, they throw a few things on and
And
we
we
come
have a party.
together, so. But yes,
Hopefully it's fruitful, right?
yes, we will do that.
Sort of lame duckish at this point, but.
No, it's okay, but it's
okay,
the
our vice
mayor
is-
and the vice mayor, and so the vice mayor will most likely be mayor next year, so it isn't, so that's good.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. And we did have an ad hoc committee meeting for board policies.
Yeah,
We
okay.
reviewed section 1000 and that will be, it's being cleaned up, I think, and will come to the board. Are we gonna review more before it comes back to the
Nope.
board? No?
No, we'll clean it up and then send it to the committee and make sure they're okay with it, and then it'll come back to the board, so.
Okay, good. I think
It's a quick
it's
turnaround. You all got together fast.
We set the bar so
Yeah.
high.
Yeah, you know, so-
Wow.
Finish it off.
Let's see, item 8, board announcements and requests to staff. Bobby.
So we were just here, but we were. The girls flag football team for College Park finished second in the Diablo Athletic League tournament. So they won. They were the number 4 seed, beat they beat in the first round. Clayton Valley, beat Clayton Valley, and then lost to Acalanes in the final 6-0. So like 1 touchdown win. Really cool to see a good friend of ours, the coach of the girls flag football team, only 3 seniors, and they had about 46 girls come out. So super excited to see how that takes off and what that does to new sports in our community, get girls more involved in new things. So pretty cool. And tomorrow night at the our College Park Falcons take on the hated Alhambra Bulldogs of
You say that, I can't.
We don't take sides here, do we?
Oh, man. Our crosstown rivals,
Yeah.
but it will be also the anniversary of the 1993 Hall of Fame football team, and so many folks will be in attendance tomorrow night to
Anybody you know?
celebrate, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, so that'll be cool.
Oh,
Go
we have a
Falcons.
lot of fun.
Yep. That's it.
That's it?
That's
Okay,
it.
all right. You want to announce publicly, you gave out full-size candy bars for Halloween?
Full-size candy bars, yeah, 420 full-size candy bars, 428 full-size candy. Yeah, kudos to, it was on next door, but kudos to Poets Corner, and I'm sure there were other neighborhoods that did a fantastic job, but was really impressed with our community. Quite a diversity of, kids that attended and all different ages, and, yeah, just really excited. It was a good night, real good night. Pleasant.
Okay, thank you, Bobby.
Yep.
Derek,
Yeah,
better known as Grim Reaper.
yeah, not too much to report for tonight. I think Michelle kind of covered. There is the Pleasant Hill Community Foundation that is sponsoring the part of the Chamber of Commerce gathering at Wise Girls that will be on Thursday, November 9th. I won't be able to attend, unfortunately, because a board meeting that I have to attend to for work actually got bumped because of the observed day for Veterans Day on November 10th. So they had to bump it to the 9th. But yeah, hopefully other people who are here may be able to participate in the Veterans Memorial that will be, right at the Memorial Center on that day.
So you just talked about two things, the mixer.
Yeah, the mixer.
And
then,
tell us about the Veterans Memorial.
Yeah, I believe that's gonna be at the memorial on Monument. Yeah, and I think that's on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So, yeah, it should be a good turnout for that as well. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot of the details myself, but.
Thank you.
But that's all I had for public comment, or not for public comment, but for
Board
announcements. Yeah, board announcements.
You don't want to say anything about Grim Reaper, huh?
Oh, well, I really appreciated being out there off the Haunted Trail. It's really nice to be part of that event. And since I'm wearing a mask, no one knows who I am, so. But I had the opportunity to take a lot of photos, like, if you're Santa, people come sit on your lap, but I did have it set up with our booth that, I had a bench, and I got a lot of kids to come over and take pictures with me over at the bench in our graveyard. So it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
You clearly were unidentifiable. I had to ask if Derek was here, and they said, yeah, you're right. Thank you, Derek. Please.
Yeah, not too much. November this month is Native American Heritage Month, so we can some things just to acknowledge that group. I was gonna say to veterans who live in the area, happy Veterans Day, and thank you for your service for all that you've done. I don't know the details, but I think it is Saturday. I'm not sure the details. Usually just a pretty good showing of folks there, so I'll try to find the details on that. But that's it. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Sandy.
The hospice tree lighting is also next week, next Wednesday. I'm also gonna be out of town, so I'm gonna miss that. I'm gonna miss the Community Foundation. I've been to that several times in the past, and it's a good gathering, and if any of you can go to support the Community Foundation, I urge you to do that. So the hospice tree lighting, I think you're gonna be there? Yeah, you're gonna do it. And then I'm gonna be attending the Pleasant Hill Rotary Club Veterans Day celebration, which is this Saturday at Back 40. And it's a very nice gathering celebration. There was a fair number of vets there last year, and it's all free. Back 40 provides food. Jinx Jones is going to be there as far as some music. There'll be some other things that are done, but it's very nice what they do for that. So I'll be there, but then I'll be out for about a week. Then I'll be back.
Thanksgiving. Yeah, before. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Sandy. Only thing I have to add is you were there as well, I think, at the Harvest Festival.
Oh, yes.
At Rogers Ranch.
That's great.
quiet but steady, I understand, in terms of people showing up. They had pumpkins that kids can, all kinds of paints set out so kids could decorate pumpkins, and by the time they, circled the farm and looked at all the other things that were going on, the paint had pretty much dried, and it, anyways, very nicely set up. So thank you for all the efforts that those who put on that event. They did a nice job. So I enjoyed it very much, as did my grandson Jack. Other than that, and the fact that we've had this opportunity to be together on a different sort of a level, and how valuable that is. I just want to thank all of you for not only devoting your time to getting educated as board members, to the personal time that we spend together as well. And with that, we will call this meeting adjourned at 8:11. It's 8:12 now. There we go. All right. Eric, thank you. We're looking forward to hearing from you more.
Yeah,